To cover, ladies and gentlemen, in and around us, there has been a lot that's happening. A delegation of US lawmakers met the exiled Tibetan spiritual leader, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and this meeting happened at Dharamshala in Himachal Pradesh. The meeting annoyed Beijing, which urged the United States on Tuesday to fully recognize the anti-China and separatist nature of the Dalai Lama and also refrain from any form of contact. The US has long supported the rights of the Tibetan people to practice their religion and culture and has accused China of human rights violations in the remote Himalayan region that borders Bharat. US has also affirmed President Joe Biden's intention to sign the Resolve Tibet Act, which was passed last week by the Congress. China has also warned President Biden against signing this legislation, claiming that that this is will be transgression of Chinese sovereignty or the CCP's sovereignty. But the dragon is also attempting to stare down at Bharat and keep spreading fake propaganda over its rights over Tibet. Government sources have told CNN News 18 that their claims are absolutely baseless. The CCP making baseless claims. These are our inputs brought to us by our Group Editor Security Manoj Kumar Gupta that show that China's desperate attempt to control Tibet but has actually got no right over Tibet or even the entire sequence of electing the Panchen Lama and also the Dalai Lama. China actually wants to control Tibet via two actions. One territorial, the other one is the cultural and demographic genocide. The cultural control is via exercising its control over who would be the 15th Dalai Lama. First Dalai Lama was born back in 1391. The People's Republic of China was established in 1949. So clearly Tibetan culture is way back, nearly 600 years before even the CCP or the manifestation of the PLA. China can't claim an institution that precedes its own formation. The abduction of the 11th Panchen Lama from Tibet shows the dragon's intention. China called for Tibet's invasion in 1949 and introduced Order Number 5 in 2007. Order Number 5 confirms reincarnations of lamas practicing Tibetan Buddhism. Order Number 5 was introduced by Beijing to try and strangle Tibetan Buddhism. Numerous monks have then thereafter fled Tibet, including His Holiness. The Buddhist institutes in Tibet are adhering to Xi Jinping's idea. In fact, displaying a portrait of the Dalai Lama in a Tibet monastery is actually being considered a punishable offense. Dalai Lama supporter Namki was actually imprisoned and sentenced to in a PLA-controlled Tibetan region. They are even renaming it and they've been not even calling it Tibet for such a long time. And on Dalai Lama's succession plan, the MEA has said that only India has a legitimate say. Bharat will support and endorse the 15th Dalai Lama. We will endorse the 15th Dalai Lama in accordance with the right processes as per as the Tibetan Buddhism way and as prescribed by the 14th Dalai Lama. Processes have been set forth by the present Dalai Lama for the succession plan, and we will strongly oppose outside interference and influence. Tibetans will decide if the 15th Dalai Lama will stay in Bharat or not, and will be a unifying force in safeguarding the succession process. So the attack is on the succession process. Nancy Pelosi, when she comes here, and Bharat's position, Tenzin Sundu is with us, Aina Tangen is with us, and so is Sushant Sareem. Tenzin Sundu, namaste. आप कैसे इसे देखते हैं बताइए? How do you see this?
Namaste. Thanks for discussing issue of Tibet here. It's not always that we discuss Tibet here in India, but this time Nancy Pelosi and the entire high-level US delegation coming to Dharamshala, meeting with His Holiness the Dalai Lama at a time when United States is making a serious attempt in supporting Tibet, and that too by making into law a very strong bill supporting that Tibet was a free and independent country, that Tibet is an occupied country today, and that the Tibetan people have right to self-determination. These are the three strong points that none of the countries ever made today, but United States is taking this up, and just the last phase is left where United States President Joe Biden is likely to sign this bill into law anytime soon, maybe in 1 week or so. But this is the highest level delegation, and this is the strongest support Tibet is ever getting. We remain grateful to Government of India and people of India that they're giving us the support and the shelter. But now we have to see how India's security is linked to the issue of Tibet and how United States is taking up the issue of Tibet at the highest level, and this will have a huge significance. I'm telling you, this is going to bring major change to the issue of Tibet vis-a-vis China. And China is not going to keep silent, it's not going to immediately resolve the issue, but this is going to bring about visibility to Tibet, recognition to Tibet as a country, and how China's occupation and systematic attempt in destroying Tibetan language, culture, environment, and continue to take advantage of the dictatorship, and how China tried to use all that in order to maintain its trade and supply chains to countries around the world, and how internationally for decades people have kept silent about it. But today United States is taking it up, and it's just a matter of a week's time when.
But Tenzin, also throw light, even as Aina Tangin joins us, on the entire matter of interference in the selection or election of the next Dalai Lama. How has China tried to interfere in this process?
Well, His Holiness the Dalai Lama is an institution. This is the 14th Dalai Lama. Just as you said very correctly in your introduction, that People's Republic of China, PRC, the government was formed in 1949.
Yes.
And then when we say Communist Party of China, again formed in 1920. But the institution of His Holiness the Dalai Lama has been going on since 1646, and that's the time, almost about like 400 years of the institution of the Dalai Lama. Today, China, because they are maintaining a dictatorial regime in Tibet and also in China, they think they can do whatever they want, and they are actually making a revisionist policy by changing history. Today, they are saying Tibet, East Turkestan, Southern Mongolia, Manchuria, all of them are part of China. This is what they're saying.
Yes.
This revisionist policy is a politics they are playing simply because China's supply chain and trade has become a cause of dependency to many of the international countries. And for a long time, because of trade and supply chain, many countries have blindly accepted to what is called China's occupation or China's part. Today, United States is bringing that very serious case, and United States making this into law is dislodging the very basis and standing of China.
See, as PLA would look at it, or the CCP would look at it, they would believe that this is US directly meddling in Asia. US has no business being here. Sushant Sareen, how would you respond to this, that US has no business being here? Why is US using India or Bharat to meddle into affairs that belong to Bharat and its neighbor, China and its neighbors? Why should the US get active here? And that's one of the issues that the CCP has picked up.
So Anand, there are two parts to this. One is the presumption that the US is using India. I don't entirely agree with that. It's not, it's not as though, and I made this point earlier as well, this is not the first time American officials are going to Dharamshala to meet His Holiness the Dalai Lama. They've gone plenty of times in the past.
Nancy Pelosi last year was in Taiwan, and only today about $317 million aid has been now extended by US to Taiwan itself. So
Nancy Pelosi's third visit to Dharamshala. We must know.
Third visit.
So this angle that United States is doing something. No, the very arrival of His Holiness the Dalai Lama to India as refugees, and also setting up a special frontier force, which is key important real here in Indian Army,
ITBP.
was also because of United States support to India 65 years ago.
Correct. Okay, let Sushant complete and then I'm not talking. Yes, Sushant.
So the point I was trying to make is that, one, this is not the first time. There are plenty of people from the US who have gone, some for spiritual reasons, other for more political and geopolitical reasons. So there's nothing novel on this. The Chinese have always, reacted very petulantly on this matter, partly for right reasons and partly for utterly silly reasons. But that's China for you. The important thing is that, yes, as far as India is concerned, if there is somebody who wants to go and call on His Holiness the Dalai Lama, we don't have a problem with it, and we are quite open with it. That is one part of it. The second part of it is, do the Americans have a right to meddle? in a way, yes, and in a way, no. No, because the Americans have a right, have a tendency to meddle in affairs and actually make a hash of things. They don't really solve things. Look, they went into Syria trying to free the Syrians from Syria, and look what they've left behind. They went into Iraq trying to free the Iraqis from the Iraqis, and look what they've made of it. So one needs to be extremely careful about American meddling. That is one part of it. But the second part of it is when you have a country like the United States, which is a country which is every country's neighbor. Its global footprint makes it the neighbor of every country, and it has a finger in almost every pie. There is going to be, whether we like it or not, whether it's technically correct or not, you will see some amount of meddling. Your Chinese do it all over the place. The Americans have been doing it for many years. So I think that should answer that part of it. And the third thing is on the succession of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And on that, I am very clear. The Chinese will try every trick in the book. They've been doing it for very long, trying to ensure that they control the succession, and whoever becomes the next Dalai Lama, according to them, is their puppet. But look, the Dalai Lama is a figure who has to be accepted by the people of Tibet. The Chinese can impose whoever they want to. If he is not acceptable to the people of Tibet, that's the end of the story. So, and I would imagine that the people of Tibet, both within Tibet as well as in the diaspora, will accept whoever becomes anointed the Dalai Lama according to the Tibetan way and according to the procedures and the processes outlined by the Dalai Lama, rather than outlined by the
PLA.
China.
Yeah. Aina Tangin, Taiwan, Tibet, is this now slowly delinking away from the one China policy which the US in the past has recognized? And is that the biggest step that's happening?
I don't think it's a real delinkage. I think it's just trying to focus the world on trying to make China look like the bad guy. I mean, you've seen it in Hong Kong, you've seen it in Xinjiang, you've seen it in Taiwan, and now they're going back to Tibet. It's a situation which is hard to, express. You have people who feel very strongly in terms of the religion; they're entitled to do so. But the fact is, under the tutelage, under the reign of the Dalai Lama and the gentry, the majority of people, vast majority, over 95%, were slaves. They were indentured servants. They lived to the ripe old age of 42 on average. They were illiterate. They had really nothing to look forward to except, the preachings of the religious people who told them that if they just, kept at it, they'd have a better life in the future. Today, Tibet is an open place. People go there all the time. I have many friends who have visited. They don't tell me that it's a place under occupation. They meet different lamas there. They talk to people. They've been interviewed. They're extremely urbane, very, very modern, and they like their society. They don't want to go back to indentured servitude, and that's their choice. So at this point, from China's perspective, this is just political interference, much like the U.S.
Let him make his point. Let him make his point.
He made it.
Much like the U.S. interfered in the Indian. Listen, my dear fellow, you have a diarrhea of the mouth. Cannot seem to shut up. Let others finish.
You just cannot blame
so just
because India gives you platform.
Why don't you? Can you?
No, but see, I'll tell you what, Tenzing, let him make it. Let's not get personal here, and let's not lose control. Let's not lose our control. Tenzing, just wait. Allow him another 45 seconds. Let him complete his point, and then you please counter him, so that every point of view is heard.
The issue is that
you may disagree. You may disagree with him. We may disagree with him. A lot of viewers may agree. He heard us out. Let us hear him out. Let us hear him out, and then you counter him, Tenzing. Yes, yes, Mr. Tani.
You have the U.S. has been involved actively in trying to intervene in other countries. The Congress funds an organization that produces regime change. India was suffered under this during the last election, when it was very noticed that the U.S. was taking a hand in criticizing the Modi government. I mean, you could say that this is inevitable, but it doesn't make it right. So at the end of the day, you should add Afghanistan to your list, as well as Somalia and so many other countries. The United States is a country that's only been at peace for 15 years in its 248-year history. It has had troops in all but 3 countries. So trying to say that the U.S. is a savior, I think you have to reflect a little bit on that.
Right. The CCP and the PLA cannot color themselves in glory. Name one country that has actually prospered because of its influence or engagement with the CCP and led or PLA led China. Every other nation is in a debt trap. Is in such a debt trap that they have no other ways of recovering. So the delinking is not possible, and the thriving or the growing is not possible. And in and around China itself, there are so many regions which have now been renamed, rebranded and ethnically cleansed. So that's also evident there. But Tenzing Chundu, you disagree with Einar Tangen. Go ahead, please.
Mr. Anna, or whatever his name is, I mean, just because India offers you a platform for a civil discussion, it doesn't mean you can blabber your propaganda here. We know what is happening in China, and perhaps you've been told to, blabber on talking about all this, Chinese propaganda. But the reality is, under Mao Zedong's rule. Now you listen to me. My turn. Under Mao Zedong's rule, 45 million Chinese died of starvation, and you are still keeping Mao Zedong as the father of the nation. What does it talk about a country where you have suppressed your own people under your own control? And today China is suffering because Xi Jinping is maintaining this dictatorial regime. Not only Chinese people are suffering, but China's occupied countries like Tibet, East Turkestan, Southern Mongolia, Manchuria, all these 4 countries put together make 60% of China's landmass. On this 60% of landmass, from there you are mining gold, lithium, natural gas, oil, and you are now taking them and selling it to countries around the world, particularly from Tibet. China is mining lithium and rare earths, and China is now selling it to countries around the world. And this is the country which is most suppressed in China. And today, and now you are saying, what kind of history, what kind of background about His Holiness? His Holiness the Dalai Lama is the most respected, loved personality in the world today. And the question here Sushant is asking is about the future of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. At the moment, His Holiness is very much here among us, and he is saying that the ultimate decision about the future of His Holiness the Dalai Lama is his own word. And he said he would leave behind written statement where and when that future incarnation is going to be. But interestingly, what you also said is, let's see who lives longer, His Holiness the Dalai Lama or the Chinese Communist Party. The Chinese Communist Party is going to collapse and break out, and that is truly going to be freedom.
Well, we are none of us are for soothsayers, and none of us can actually look into the future. But there are certain trends, and there are certain the deviations that are happening in direction that world is taking. We'll have to wait and watch. I have to cut this conversation short, but my only point of view is that if there is a step away from one China, then that has to be a bold and a clear step. It cannot be half a step forward and 2 steps back.
Absolutely.
And nations have to be very clear about that. I thank all our guests. I just request Sushant Sareen to stay back. We will turn the spot